Hey guys, it's Machaela. And I did a video a couple weeks ago regarding my husband and his brain injury. And I kind of wanted to come on here and share things a little bit from my perspective in terms of just kind of dealing with that on an emotional level. If you've been following my journey, you know that I've got a playlist of emotions I've been going through. And most of them do pertain to his injury. Going back, I kind of wanted to start with the injury and what I went through. And honestly, I was 8 months pregnant at the time. I got the phone call, he went down, and when the doctors were telling me that it was time to let him go, I emotionally at that point just wanted to be done. I wanted to be free of the hurt, so I was emotionally ready to let him go. And based on conversations prior to that, we had talked about that if something like that ever did happen, just to let the other person go. For him, I mean, if it were not for my brother, and the rest of my family, I probably would have let him go. But my brother, he got this Holy Spirit sense, and it's a feeling that he recognizes greatly, saying, do not let him go yet. Or just do not let him go. And that feeling was right, because honestly, if I would have let him go, I would have been left with more questions than answers, like what could have been, what would have happened. And I am so beyond blessed to have my husband here, and he's being able to help me now, and he's able to, I'm so glad that I didn't let him go. As hard as it was at the time, and as hard as I would have wanted the pain to be over at the time, I'm glad that he's here. Fast forward a little bit to him coming out of the coma, coming out of everything that he had went through, and just being in the hospital. I expected him to just wake up and be normal, and he wasn't normal. He was very much in a vegetative state for a very long time after that, and that was hard because I'm like, okay, great, he's awake, but he's a vegetable. And I questioned then, should I have let him go, and let myself be free of this commitment? And for me, it was, like, okay, I'm married to this guy who's just not who he was, and I can't take care of him and take care of the kids. When we were looking at getting him into a rehab center, it was, okay, we need you to be able to take care of him. And at the time, I'm like, I can't take care of him. I'm about to have a baby, and I've got a 2-year-old. I can't take care of my husband who's like a kid when I already have 2 kids. So that was very, very hard for me emotionally. It was hard for me, just having to go through that. And honestly, when I think back to that time, I think of how much hurt it put me in. And then he got into his rehab facility, and that's when things started speeding up a little bit. The process wasn't so slow. Before I knew it, he was walking again. And then he was, walking, talking, being able to do things like use the bathroom on his own, shower on his own, cook on his own, clean, doing all of that stuff. And of course that is maturing, and that is still continuing to mature. Although he did do a really good job. I was out yesterday, and he got the house completely spotless, so that's kind of been a little bit of a milestone. I was proud of him. But just having to go through that, and knowing that we don't know where his maximum is going to be and where he's gonna end up when he's quote-unquote fully recover. Although I do have to say that at this point he's on track to go back to work. He's on track to start driving again. But yeah, just he's there. He's on the right track. He's getting there. He's getting better. Right now it's just a matter of just practice. Everything at this point is just practice, practice, practice. He's determined to get better. He's determined to want to do what he needs to do. And that for me it's great. It's beyond blessings. But just for me, it's, I've had to get used to some changes, some emotional changes. He used to be a lot more outgoing than he is now, and now he's a little bit more mellow. And that for me has been hard, because I'm used to my husband being able to lead things and lead us in social situations, and for me having to take that on has been hard. So I'm really missing that right now, and that's probably one of the hardest parts at the moment. I mean, tomorrow that could change, but being able to just, I'm missing the leadership aspect. And yes, he will get there. I believe he will. I believe that there are still some things that are going to be hard, and things that I'm just going to have to be permanently taking on in the roles, and that's just part of this. As far as brain injury goes, and I'm speaking purely of my knowledge and from what I've learned from other sources, he is definitely high functioning. I do know of other people who are also very high functioning, and honestly, by the grace of God alone and performing the miracles of this, it's been, you know, if it weren't for God himself, my husband would have been dead, and I'd have been the one to, you know, I'd have pulled the plug. And, you know, if it weren't for God speaking through other people, through my family, through, I mean, every time we told this story to people, they would always say, do not give up hope. This is what happened. This is what the doctor said. And that for me, and as I started, like, you don't understand how precious a miracle is or how precious little things are until you're in a moment where you feel like you've lost all hope. And when doctors told me, hey, he's coming out of his coma, that for me, like, he's going to live, like, the fact that he was going to die 3 days prior to, hey, he's going to live, was a huge, like, that day, I remember it, and he has a picture of it, that he keeps, because it's just a precious picture of me holding Abby, and it was the day we heard him breathe for the first time again on his own, and the day that the doctors were calling us. And for that moment right there was, like, the amount of relief that was on us that day was great. And then what would happen is we'd get these moments of relief, okay, he's improving, and then we'd hear more, like, okay, he's not any better than he was 4 or 5 days ago. And that would go on for days at a time. And then that was hard. That's where my emotional downfall would be. I'd be upset, hopeless, hopeless, hopeless. And then I'd get to a point of feeling completely hopeless again. And then I'd get a phone call. Okay, his eyes are awake. He's tracking now. Okay, that's a great miracle. I feel good for a couple days. Things were good. And then the cycle would start all over again. Get to a point of feeling hopelessness. Like, is he ever going to be anything more than this? Next thing I knew, it was talking. And then I got a phone call one day. And this was, honestly, it was right before he went to his rehab center, saying that he had taken some steps. And I'm like, okay, thinking like 2 or 3 steps. And the doctors were like, no, he took 120 steps while he was still in the hospital. And that for me was like, wait, he went from 0 steps 3 days ago to 120. And just the emotional, like, relief, like, the joy, like, it's like a joy that you would never expect to have otherwise. And just to have that in him, and to have noticed that, like, in that moment, like, that right there made your whole day. And it went like that. It's been like that for months. I mean, even now with him being, you know, recovered more fully, I mean, we're not there yet. It's still going to be a process. But even now, just like the little things that he does, that's, okay, that's 1 step towards normal. That's 1 step towards normal. And it's like, you know, it's amazing. And I still, like, going through the ups and downs, I still have my days where I'm like, okay, are we stuck now, or are we still improving? And when the days are feeling like, okay, when it feels like we're stuck, and the days that it feels like we're stuck, then that's when something else happens, and something else happens, and it's gonna be like that for a while. And that's just the emotional roller coaster I'm on, personally. It's the emotional roller coaster we're on as a family. So anyway, with that, I'm just going to leave it there, and hopefully this journey, some of you can relate to it. I would like to point out a little bit of maintenance on this channel real quick. I am on MeWe now, so I will start leaving those links down below. My Facebook page has kind of been disbanded a little bit, but that's just because there are some changes going on with, like, the way I'm doing things. So anyway, I'm on MeWe and Instagram, and hopefully I'll revamp my Facebook page, but I'm not quite sure yet. Anyway, I'll leave those links down below. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. God bless, and bye, guys.
Bye.